It's a problem of the whole community, of all of us, to help veterans coming home and reintegrating them into families, workplaces, and civil life in general. My name is Karl Plesner. I am a specialist in reconciliation and crisis communication, and I help people to deal with and recover from physical violent conflicts, and I support people to resolve conflicts peacefully through dialogue. So I worked in Ukraine together with my wife for more than 10 years since the Maidan revolution. And in those years, we have talked with a lot of soldiers, with a lot of relatives to soldiers, a lot of veterans, a lot of women that are receiving their husbands to come back home. And we have consulted a lot of research and therapies in order to figure out how can we help and support veterans to reintegrate peacefully into civil society, to reintegrate with their families, workplaces, to restore a relationship of love and care and respect with their wife and their children. And I have some advices, some thoughts that I would like to share with you with the intention that this can help and support you for peaceful reintegration of the guys coming home from the war. So yes, it's a really difficult challenge to receive a dear one coming home from war. And what we have found that seems to work really well is, we basically have a longer list of experiences and advices we would like to share with you. The first one, be patient and have understanding. He is a different person, or she, if it's a woman coming home. Your dear one coming home from war is a different person. A lot of things have happened, a lot of bad things, a lot of horror have happened, and that have changed the personality of the person you're receiving home. It's very important that you respect his boundaries. Do not try to push him to do things he don't want to do. Do not try to make him be at a certain place at a certain time. Do not try to force him or push him to talk about things he don't want to talk about. He has a lot going on in his head. He has a lot of horrible memories from the war in his head. And it is manifesting itself in a lot of distress in his body. And you will notice that he is not well, he's not doing good. And in order to support him, it's very, very important that you provide him freedom of choice. You don't force him to do anything that he doesn't feel comfortable about. Allow him to walk away if he doesn't want to be somewhere. This is really, really important. That gives him space and safety to take care of himself, to make sure that he is not ending up in situations that he cannot manage. So allow him to walk away, allow him to do what is good for him, as long as it doesn't hurt or harm other people. So he may act in ways that are really, really strange, and to you and to other people here in our ordinary civilian life, it looks really strange and weird, and you think, what is going on with him? It may be that he don't want to be in front of windows. He wants the light to be turned off at nighttime and evening time. He wants curtains to cover all the windows. Maybe he wants to sleep in the basement. Maybe he is carrying a weapon next to his bed, like an axe or a knife. Maybe he checks 5 times if the lock to the house is properly locked. Maybe there are places he wants to avoid, people he wants to avoid. So he can have what appears to be a very irrational behavior. Have acceptance with that. This is a behavior he have learned and adapted in order to take care of himself in the war zone. And he is bringing that behavior back home. And it may look really unreasonable, irrational, that type of behavior, but as long as it doesn't hurt or harm other people, then just accept it. Accept that he is acting in weird, strange ways that you don't really understand. He is doing that in order to maintain his emotional stability and provide himself emotional safety and protection, to stabilize himself, to enable him to be as good a human being as possible. The thing is, alcohol, it doesn't help. A lot of research have shown that veterans coming home with PTSD that starts drinking alcohol, in the beginning it is soothing their pain and making life a little easier for them, but on the long run, alcohol is going to worsen PTSD symptoms. It's going to accelerate aggression. It's going to have a destructive influence on any type of relationships with wife, with children, with co-workers, anyone around him. So a very strong recommendation from me, please don't drink alcohol around a veteran coming home. Or at least if you do, please don't get drunk. He went through horrors on the front line in order to keep people in the country safe and protected. He made a big sacrifice. He came home alive. He saw a lot of people that didn't come home alive. Make it easier for him to not drink alcohol by yourself not drinking alcohol. And that goes both for the family and for parties with friends and any social context. Please limit the amount of alcohol. The less alcohol people around him drink, the less likely he is not to drink alcohol himself. Yeah, so the issue of therapy. A lot of women that have their husband coming home, they see he's not well, they think he is ill and something is wrong with him, and they tell him, you have to go and see a psychologist so you can get treatment for your PTSD. The trouble is, the only way that he is going to go to a psychologist is if he makes the choice himself. You cannot force him to go to a psychologist. If you try to force him to go to a psychologist, he may rebel and become aggressive, and it's not going to support your relationship. So if you really want him to go to a psychologist, the best thing you can do is to find a really good case example of a veteran that went through the same horrors as he did, that went to a psychologist and got therapy and felt good about it and talk about that as a positive experience. That is the only thing he's going to respect. Many veterans, they are very concerned about going to psychologists and reject doing it because they don't experience understanding from the psychologist. And what is really important for them is that if they talk about their painful experiences and process their trauma, that they're doing it with someone who actually understands what they've been through. And many psychologists don't do that. And that's why so many veterans are very reluctant or completely reject going to a psychologist. Don't try to force him. Show a good example of how it works for people like him. And then maybe he will make the choice. What you can also do is that you can go to therapy yourself. You can show an example of how therapy can be very supportive. If he sees that you go to therapy and it actually has a positive influence on your relationship, then he will be much more likely himself to say, okay, I would like to join a therapy session and see how it goes. So don't call him out as mentally ill. Don't think that it's all his problem. It's a problem of the whole community, of all of us, to help veterans coming home and reintegrating them into families, workplaces, and civil life in general. For veterans, it's really important to be around people, at least once in a while, who understand what they've been through. And the only ones that really truly understand what they've been through is other veterans just like themselves. So please support your veteran coming home to meet with his peers, with his colleagues, with other people that went through the same horrors as he did. They need to talk with each other. They understand each other at a level that the rest of us, we don't. We just don't understand what they've been through. That brings them healing and support. It is a venue where they can share their frustrations, their difficulties, and support each other to better reintegrate into civil life. So if your husband, if he wants to go and visit his peers, really support it. Maybe it would be good for you to meet the wives of the fellow veterans. So you have someone to talk with, so you have someone to share experience with and exchange good advices. How can we support our veteran to come home and to reintegrate him? Many veterans that come home from the war will over time develop post-traumatic stress, also called PTSD. That is because they have survived incredible horrors at the front line that have been extremely stressful for their mind, for their spirit, for their body, and it will take them a long time to release that stress slowly again. That condition is called PTSD. Sometimes it can last a lifetime. What is really valuable is that you yourself develop understanding what is PTSD, what happens in the mind, in the body, in the spirit of a person with PTSD That will help you to understand why is he behaving in those ways he are. When you understand PTSD better, you will be much better at understanding his reactions. Why is he doing the things he's doing? Why is he speaking the way he is? That weird behavior, that difficulty of communicating with him and talking with him and solving problems with him, you will have a much better understanding what's going on for him when you understand the mechanics of PTSD. So I very strongly recommend you and everyone else who is welcoming the veteran to gain some basic understanding of what is PTSD. It is very important that we don't see integration of veterans as the task of the veteran. Or the veteran, he's doing bad, he has to go to a psychologist and get PTSD therapy, and when he is good, he can come back again. It is our collective responsibility to reintegrate veterans. So when you expect a veteran to come home, then gather your community around you, good friends, family, everyone who has care and respect for the veteran coming home. Gather them around, make some agreements with them. How are they willing to support? It's very, very important that supporting a veteran to come home is a collective process. It's something we do together as a community. And in that regard, something that veterans really enjoy, those we have talked with, they really enjoy to be invited to come and do some gardening, to repair a house, to repair a car, to go fishing, to play sports, to do activities with people that care for them, love them, and have respect for them. That is a very, very important part of safely reintegrate a veteran from the war. PTSD, the best remedy, the best medicine for PTSD is to be surrounded by a loving, caring community that has a lot of respect and are dedicated to support the veteran to come home. There's no therapy that can really replace that. So, the conclusion here, gather your community around you. Gather everyone who has respect, love, and care for the veteran. Gather them figuring out together how can you support him. For children, it can be a really scary experience that their father come home. Maybe they have not seen him for a couple of years. A lot of it happened with him. He comes home, he acts in new ways which the children don't recognize. They may feel scared because they cannot communicate with him the same way as they could before he went to war. And in that regard, it's really, really, really valuable to inform the children, your father is not the same person. He needs at least 6 months coming home before he will be able to be somewhat the father we used to remember him for. So for children, it's very important that they don't tease him, they don't push his boundaries, they don't provoke him, they give him some space, they show the love they have for him, and hopefully they will find a way to do activities together that all of them will enjoy. Doing physical activities together is really something super valuable. Veterans are not good at sitting and thinking and doing intellectual work. They really like to do physical activity with their loved ones. And that certainly also includes their children. Remember, he was fighting in the war to keep his children safe. That was a major motivation for him. And he needs help and support to reintegrate and to reconnect with his children and restore and rebuild a good relationship with them. And that is going to take some time, and it will be good to have some calm, gentle conversations with the children about it before he comes home. There is a lot of opinions about what really works well for therapies for people with PTSD. And every psychologist will claim that his/her methodology is the best evidence-based process. What I have learned from spending 6 months intensively reading more than 150 actual research studies of the effect of therapy, I would like to share what I have found out. The conclusion is many things help people reduce their PTSD. That's the good news. The bad news is it's really hard to completely cure PTSD. So it will be good that we found some acceptance that PTSD will not be fully cured. Let's have acceptance that this is probably not going to happen. But there are many things that can help reduce PTSD. And I would like to mention some methods that I've come across that I've seen very, very solid scientific research documenting the effect of. Somatic experiencing by Peter Levine, which works with the body, with body sensations. I have seen that to produce absolutely miraculous effects for people with very, very severe trauma. It is a complicated methodology. It takes a long time to learn to be a somatic experiencing practitioner, and the therapy can take a long time, up to half a year. What I also see is EMDR, what we know as eye movement. This type of therapy seems to be very, very good if the PTSD client have individual incidents that has been very scary. If a severe car crash, a dear one who died, a specific incident that triggered the PTSD, then it appears that EMDR is very, very useful. CETA therapy seems to be good for everyone who has some kind of PTSD symptoms after war, also civilians. CBT therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, seems to be very, very good together with other therapies as well, in particular for dealing with complex PTSD. Complex PTSD is a result of multiple long-term traumatic experiences that accumulate and build up. Cognitive behavioral therapy seems to have very, very good effects for very difficult trauma, what is called complex PTSD. Complex PTSD is the result of multiple traumatic events that have accumulated over a longer period of time. This is difficult to work with. Cognitive behavioral therapy seems to show some good results with that. The community resilience model, which is something that ordinary people can learn in a matter of a couple of weeks training, seems to be very good for lower levels of trauma and for stressful events, to help people re-stabilize themselves, to relax a little in the body, to de-escalate strong emotions, and to reconnect with people around them. What also shows very good results for PTSD is yoga. Yoga has shown to be as good as ordinary talking therapies. Massage is very good. We have very good experiences bringing veterans to Chan to get into a hot bath in the mountains. This bodily experience of going from cold to warm to cold to warm helps them to relax in their bodies and to find more peace in their bodies. The same for singing and dancing. Singing and dancing is also one of those surprisingly methods that actually helps people to find more peace in their bodies and to reduce their anxiety and distress. And of course, to be around people that you love, that care for you and respect you. That is super, super important. All these trauma therapies are not really going to help if there is not a caring, loving, supporting community around the veteran. So when a veteran comes home from war, people around him, they are very curious. What happened to you? What did you experience? How many Russian orcs did you kill? How did you survive? All of that. The thing is, for the veteran, it can be really, really scary and uncomfortable to recall those painful, scary memories. So please don't ask him into detailed descriptions of his experiences of war. It can actually make him even more stressed and trigger more anxiety. Don't do that. Allow him to tell the stories that he feels like telling. And when he is telling a story from the war, then listen calmly with curiosity. Don't judge him. Don't criticize him. Just listen with care and warmth and acceptance for what he experienced and what he did to survive the war. This is what would really, really help him. I would like to propose some questions that may be helpful for you when you talk with him about his experiences. You can ask him questions that are supporting him to find more inner strength and more inner resilience, and that can help him to realize and find gratitude. Wow, he survived the war and he can move on in life. You can ask him, how did you manage to survive in all of that horror you experienced? What did you do to take care of yourself and to survive? What did you do to protect yourself and the comrades around you, your fellow soldiers? When did you know that you would be safe again and there was no more danger around you and you could relax and feel safe? Do you remember that time? What gave you strength to continue? What gave you hope so you could keep fighting, so you could keep every day, wake up, do what you had to do, take care of yourself and survive? What gave you hope and strength? You can also ask, were there moments when you felt gratitude and appreciation? Did you experience help and support for other people? Did you feel grateful for that? Did you have some encouragement from seeing that you could help someone else? Could you talk about those stories that gave you a sense of gratitude and hope and encouragement? Questions like that can help him to discover how he was actually taking care of himself the best he could. It can help him to realize that in the midst of absolute horror, he had beautiful moments. It can help him to develop appreciation for the support he experienced from other people at the war, what the support he gave to other people. It can give him an experience and gratitude that he survived. It can help him to put the experience behind him and move forward into civilian life with a little more peace inside. So take good care of yourself. You also need care. Make sure you have people around you that can hold you and support you in moments of despair. Those moments are probably going to come. We are all here to support each other. We didn't went to the front. Now we are going to do everything we can to support those guys who are coming home. Thank you and good luck.